Welcome back to Know How Right Now. Today what I'm going to go over is how to derive the quadratic formula by completing the square. So let's get started. Here I've got a polynomial equation to the power of 2, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to complete the square and we're going to derive the quadratic formula. So first thing on completing the square, what we need to do is get rid of this lead term here, which is, in this case, it's a. So we're going to divide the entire equation by a. And if we do that, ax squared divided by a is just x squared. Bx divided by a is bx over a, plus c over a is equal to 0 divided by a, which is just 0. Okay. Now, I'm also going to make a video on completing the square where we have particular constants. But here I want to do it in variable form because I think it's kind of nice to know where we're going, and it's kind of intuitive. So what we're going to do is I'm going to rewrite this x squared plus bx over a plus, and then I'm going to bring this on the outside. So notice we're leaving a little bit of space here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this term right here and just the constant part of it, just this part of it right there, and I'm going to say b over a divided by 2 squared. And that's going to equal b squared all over 4a squared. Okay? And this is what we're going to actually put right here. So we're just doing a little traditional completing the square here. Okay? And then whatever I add in here, I have to subtract out here. And so minus b squared over 4a squared is equal to 0. And then here we can go ahead and rewrite this. And we take this lead term, or we just take x actually in this case, and it's to the second power. So we're going to take just this part of it right here, b over a, actually b over a squared, which is just plus b over 2a squared. And then we're going to take these terms and I'm going to subtract this term from this side, or from both sides, and add this term to both sides. So what we're going to get is negative c over a plus b squared over 4a squared. Okay? And then what we need to do in order to solve for x, because ultimately that's what we're doing, is we're solving for this x here. We're going to take the square root of both sides. And if we do that, then we have to, this becomes a plus or minus. And now we have x plus b over 2a is equal to plus or minus the square root of, I'm going to rewrite this as, actually I'm just going to flip these two around so that we see where I'm going with this here. And some of you might have already guessed right now where we're going. I mean, we want it to look like the quadratic formula. And so I'm going to continue with this. I'm going to subtract this from both sides right here. So x is equal to negative b over 2a plus or minus the square root of... And what I want to do now is I want to find the common denominator in the middle. Well, the common denominator, what I'm going to end up doing here is multiplying 4a to this side. So basically times 4a to the top and the bottom, because that's how we make a common denominator. And now we're left with b squared over 4a squared minus 4ac divided by 4a squared. So now we have a common denominator there. And if you didn't see it before, maybe you're starting to see it now. But this is starting to look like the quadratic formula. So now we have x is equal to negative b divided by 2a plus or minus the square root of. Now if we take the square root of the bottom here, this is really the same, a common denominator here. So I can, in other words, I can write it like this, minus 4ac. It looks kind of like that, right? Now, if I take the square root of 4a squared, well then I'm just left with 2a on the bottom, and then I've got b squared minus 4ac on the top. And then we could even rewrite this and go a little further and write this negative b over 2a, because it was a common denominator here. And now we have the quadratic formula. So now all we got to do is whatever your constants are, now we just plug them in. And I'll also make a video on quadratic formulas for a particular polynomial, and also completing the square for particular numbers of a polynomial. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks a lot for joining me.